everyone. Welcome to In the Cordon, the place where every cricketer wants to be. I'm your host, Callum Dunk, and thank you so much for tuning in again on this episode. On this episode, we are going to preview the Australia and Pakistan Test Series, which is starting on Thursday this week. And joining me to do that is Rees Williams. Rees, how are you, mate?
Good, thanks, Callum. Thanks for having me back again.
Yeah, it's good to have you back in the cordon, mate. So, what we're going to do is we're going to quickly do a review of the PM's 11 game, Australia A, as I like to call it. Then we'll go through the test matches, tell you where all the test matches are going to be played. We're also going to be telling you who's in the squad for Australia and Pakistan. We'll do a few predictions and who to watch throughout the series. So, Rees, the PM's 11 game was a little bit disappointing in the fact that it was a pretty lifeless pitch. And I know they had some pretty horrific weather in Canberra in the lead up to the test match. So they weren't able to produce a wicket to everyone's liking, but it was a pretty flat wicket. There wasn't much in it for the bowlers, and it was a really slow surface as well. But I've got you doing some research on this particular game, and you've got some really good stats from the PM's 11 game. So firstly, let us know your thoughts on the PM's 11 game and who really impressed you.
Yep, sure. So yeah, I actually caught a bit of this game during my lunch breaks at work. I chat to Kay on and have a watch this what I could. It was a pretty boring game, really. Like you said before, the pitch was lifeless. It didn't have much for the bowlers here. Some of the stats I've got here was Pakistan made 9, declared for 391, and their top scorer, Shana Masood, their new Test captain, and he made a man of the match performance of 201 not outs. He looked very, very good. Babar Azam looked good for at his 40 as well as Shafraz Ahmed for his 41. Jordan Buckingham, the SA red back quick, is the clear pick of the bowlers. He was 5 for 80 off of his 23 overs, which is incredibly impressive on that wicket. It just didn't provide much at all. So to get 5 for there was a great performance by him. And there were single wickets to Steketee, McAndrew, and Murphy as well. And then
Yeah,
in the Australian batting, we made 4 for 367 with Renshaw to clear pick with 136 not out, with Bancroft making 53 and Harris with 49 and Green with 46.
yeah, lots of interesting statistics from that game. And as you said, I thought Jordan Buckingham bowled extremely well on what was a pretty, pretty flat
Pretty
pitch.
flat deck, yeah.
Flat and slow deck. So the fact, yeah, he was able to take 5 for more than any other bowler in that game was pretty impressive. No spin either, which was kind of disappointing as well for a pretty flat deck in Canberra. So, yeah, it was interesting to see the race for David Warner's spot. That will be one of our major talking points as we go throughout the summer. As you said, Marcus Harris with 49 threw away a really good start there. Cameron Bancroft got a pretty good ball, trapped on the crease with one that just nipped back in, but it did spot out, some of his technical deficiencies that we've been worried about for a little bit of time. But at the same time, he has been the leading run scorer in Sheffield Shield cricket for the last 2 seasons to this point. And then Matt Renshaw, batted a lot of time, made 136 not out. And for me, it's a race between Warner and Bancroft. I believe Marcus Harris has had his chances, but I would personally be going with Cameron Bancroft. I think he deserves an opportunity to, I suppose, redeem himself after Sandpapergate all those years ago and get a proper run at it. I think Renshaw's time will come. I think that will just be a matter of when Uzi decides to finish up. But I think for that Adelaide Test match in about a month's time, I certainly think that Cameron Bancroft will be getting the nod. What's your thoughts on that, mate?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I agree with you with Marcus Harris. He's had enough chances. I'd only be picking him in a test if they were playing at the Junction Oval. That's the only place he performs at. Everywhere else, forget it. I think Cameron Bancroft's the clear option here. Like, he's made 600 since the start of the 2022-23 Shield season. He's averaging 56. He's by far and away the best option, in my opinion. Just the fact that, sure, Renshaw made 100 last game, but the fact he batted 3 was probably a clear sign that he's quite a fair way back from the other two, because they're the ones that picked to open. So that's what forces Bancroft's the obvious option here going forward.
The only thing I would say against your point with Renshaw batting three is the Australian selectors have tried to experiment with batting him in the middle order, most recently in the Indian, Test series. And I know that wasn't very successful for Renshaw. It was a pretty tough tour for all the Australian batsmen, but I thought, that was pretty harsh on him. But yeah, I think Renshaw, showing that he can bat in lots of different positions provides the selectors with a few more options. Particularly if we are going to the subcontinent, he's shown you can bat at the top, but he also has shown that he can bat through the middle throughout periods of his career. But Reece, let's get into the actual preview of this test series. So the first test starts on the 14th and finishes on the 18th in Perth, the West Test. What a thrilling name for that one. We've got Boxing Day, everyone's favourite at the MCG on the 26th, and then in Sydney, which is meant to be David Warner's farewell test on the 3rd of January. So if we're looking at the Australian squad, it's pretty stock standard. Cummins, Boland, Carey. I'm really glad that Carey's keeping the gloves over Josh Inglis. Cameron Green, Josh Hazlewood, Travis Head, Usman Khawaja, Marnus Labuschagne, Nathan Lyon, great to see him back in the squad. Mitchell Marsh, Lance Morris, Steve Smith, Mitchell Starc, and David Warner. The only thing that I'm kind of disappointed about is I don't mind Lance Morris being in the squad, but I certainly think that Michael Neser should have first opportunity over someone like Lance Morris. And I just think I want to see more from Lance Morris at Shield level. And I certainly understand that he's got talent, he's got raw pace. But I think Neser's been around this group for 5 years that other than Scotty Boland, he deserves first crack. So what's your thoughts on the Australian squad?
Yeah, like you said before, there's no surprises there. Like it's pretty well just what you expect they were going to name. I think yeah, like you said, Morris is the only one that is a bit of a surprise. Like whether they're just getting him around the squad to get more experience around the group, or are they going to play him? I'm not too sure. It might depend on what the wicket does. But yeah, that's probably the only real one for me is Morris getting a look in. So I mean, it's good. Like you could always take someone that's young, he's quick, he's going to be around the squad for a long time. So maybe they're just getting him around some more experience just for later on down his career. But whether he's going to play this test remains to be seen.
Yeah, I think, if there's a flatter wicket in Sydney or in Melbourne, Michael Neser might come into it with his option for some batting. But yeah, I certainly hope that Lance Morris gets a chance some point in the future. But for the moment, I'm pretty big on Michael Neser, and I've been big on him for a long time. So I suppose the other dilemma that Australia has is whether to play Mitchell Marsh or Cameron Green in that number 6 spot. I think that you should be going with Mitchell Marsh. You should reward him for some good World Cup form, as well as finishing off the Ashes in a pretty solid manner, averaged 53 for that series in England. So, and that runner ball 118 in that third test match was a absolutely thrilling innings to watch, and love the freedom that he's playing with. I think his bowling's, quite underrated. I know we talk about Cameron Green's bowling a lot, but I think, Marsh being able to swing the ball a little bit more than Cameron Green, in my opinion. I think that's why he should get the nod. And hopefully there's a little bit of grass in the Perth deck to make that happen for Mitch. But what's your thoughts on that dilemma?
Yeah, I think for the time being, you've got to go with Mitch Marsh. He's in form. You've got to make the most of it. Like Cam Green's time will come, but for the time being, I think Mitch Marsh is the obvious selection here. And just on a little quick point from the going back to the PM's 11 game, Green didn't bowl at all, so I'm not sure if that's a sign that they're looking to more play him as a bat in the future, or what do you reckon about that one? Just the fact he's not bowling as much as he used to.
Unless there's some kind of injury that he was coming into that game with, I don't see any reason for him not to be bowling. And he still batted at number 4 number 4 in that game, as he's done for WA for one or two innings this year. So I'm firmly of the belief that if Cameron Green is available to bowl, he should be bowling. But there's been a lot of talk about Cameron Green potentially being an opener in this team, and part of me worries about that, trying to turn him into another Shane Watson. Watto was in prime form, but then they were worried about his workloads because he was batting and bowling in all three formats of the game. And Cameron Green is sort of going to go down that path where he is playing all three formats for Australia in the next couple of years as some blokes start to retire. But Cameron Green as an opener, I take it that you are firmly against this option?
No, no way.
Thoughts of Mitchell Marsh as an option to open the batting once Warner retires?
Yeah, again, I'm not sold on it. Like it's one thing to be an opener in the one days or the T20s, but it's another to be a test opener. I'm not for that as well, just for that reason.
Yeah, I'm firmly in agreement with you, mate. I know there's been a lot of talk from the cricket public about whether Cameron Green could go up the order, and I think he wants to go up the order, but we've just got two quality players in Marnus Labuschagne and Steve Smith at 3 and 4, and Trapp's not moving from that number 5 position anytime soon. Yep. So I think he has the technical capacity to be an opener, but if we want to preserve him and make sure he plays for a long period of time, I think that number 6 spot is perfect for him. But Reese, let's look at the Pakistan squad, and oh God, I don't have a whole lot of hope for him, if I'm being perfectly honest. And that's not trying to be disrespectful to Pakistan. It's just the reality of the situation that you've got. So Shan Masood is captain of this team now, and he spent 2023 playing for Yorkshire as their captain. So he hasn't actually been around the test setup for the last 12 or so months, which is a bit concerning. Abdullah Shafiq, I think he'll go all right in Australian conditions. Abrar Ahmed, who is the mystery spinner, I don't believe he's going to be available to play the first test, but his Australians have been vulnerable to mystery spin in the past. Babar Azam as a quality player speaks for himself. Played well in Australia last time, struggled a little bit in 2016 against Josh Hazlewood. Fahim Ashraf, he could certainly play in this team, whether Pakistan decide to go with, 5 batters, the keeper, and then another all-rounder to make sure they've got their 5 bowling options. Hassan Ali is a solid bowler. Imal Al-Haq will bat at the top of the order. Mohammad Rizwan, I'm shocked he's not playing in this team in the first 11. I think he's just such a good cricketer. And even if he can't have the gloves in this team with Sarfaraz Ahmed, I think he's good enough to be in the top 6 as a genuine batsman alone. Imam Wasim Jr. is a pretty solid bowler. How we go in Australian conditions. Noman Ali, the left arm spinner. There's a lot of guys that I haven't heard of in this squad. You've got Shakil, who's impressed in 2023, got a double 100 in Sri Lanka earlier this year, and Shaheen Shah Afridi will certainly lead their attack in Australia. Got some good experience out here last time. So, Reese, do you give Pakistan any chance in this test series?
Nah, not too much. They're going to be heavily reliant on guys like Babar Azam and Shan Masood to make a lot of runs at the top there, as well as guys like Yaman Al-Haq opening up the batting, and their bowling lineup there. Shaheen Afridi is going to have to do a lot of work there.
Oh, there is no doubt that Shaheen is going to have to lead this attack, but it obviously poses a question and concern for Pakistan cricket with Haris Rauf, choosing to play for the Melbourne Stars and playing instead of playing in this test series. And I think if Haris Rauf is fit and available, then he's in the top 2 quicks in Pakistan in Test cricket. Unfortunately, Naseem Shah had stress fractures, so he missed the World Cup. And I certainly think if he was available, he would be playing in this team. But they brought a pretty, inexperienced fast bowling attack. Yeah, inexperienced fast bowling attack last time to Australia, and that showed with, Marnus and David Warner scoring runs for fun in Sydney and Adelaide. David Warner most notably getting 335 not out at the Adelaide Oval. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of hope for their bowling attack, and it looks like Abrar's not going to play that first game. So I believe Sajid Khan, the off spinner, is going to be playing, and unfortunately, it's not a tack that's attack that's going to get you 20 wickets in Australia, unless it's a proper green
No.
top and Shaheen can swing it around corners. You know what? I'd love a green top, to be perfectly honest. None of these roads, make it proper Test cricket where 300's a good score, but
You won't get that at the MCG, mate.
you won't be getting that at the MCG. Hopefully in Perth will be a good contest. But yeah, yet again at the SCG, it's a pretty flat wicket as well. So, Reese, who are you going to be keeping your eye out for in this series from both Australia and Pakistan? Give me one name from each side.
So from Pakistan, I'm going to be looking out for Babar Azam. He's going to have to step up big time if they're going to have any chance of posting competitive scores. So I'm keen to see how he goes. And from Australia, I'm actually wanting to see how Alex Carey responds, because he had a pretty rough go at it towards the end of the Ashes, and obviously got dropped after one game in the World Cup. So he'd be wanting a big series to stamp his name on that keeping spot with Inglis in the wings there. So I think he'll have a big summer. That's one I'm going to be keeping an eye on for both the Pakistan and West Indies series, to be honest.
Yeah, raised some very valid points, mate. And as we said at the top of the show, we're both very glad that Alex Carey's been able to keep the gloves in the Test team, and he certainly deserves that opportunity after performing well over in England. Yeah, for me, I think if I'm looking from a Pakistan point of view, I think Abdullah Shafiq is probably the one that I'm looking for. If he can really blunt the Australian attack with that new ball, I think it goes a long way towards Pakistan being competitive in this series. And we've seen previously his technique is rock solid. He's been able to score runs against Australia previously, even though if it was on a road and a highway in Rawalpindi, everyone's favourite wicket in Test cricket. So, he's the one that I'm probably going to be looking out for. And once again, the captain, Shan Masood, I think it's a good chance for him to stamp his authority on this team and, let everyone know that he deserves to be Pakistan captain following the Babar Azam stepping down. But from an Australian point of view, I think Usman Khawaja is the one that I'm looking out for. Uzi's, getting towards the twilight of his career at this point in time. And if he doesn't have a good start to the summer, he could potentially pull up stumps at the end of the summer as well. So I'd certainly hope that Uzi can stick around for another 12 months and make it to the end of that Indian series at home. But at the same time, if he's not performing, with his age, you've got Renshaw, Bancroft and Harris all pushing their cases to get into this Australian lineup. But Reese, who is your leading run scorer going to be in this series?
I'm going to go Marnus.
And how many runs across the 3 Test matches?
Across the 3, I reckon he'll make 650.
650, all right. I'm going to go with Steve Smith. Had a quiet World Cup. Typical Australian answer, Steve Smith being a top run scorer. But I think,
putting a limb out there.
Oh, yeah. Just with having a quieter World Cup as well, I think he's primed for a good Test summer. And I think he had a relatively quiet 2023 in the scheme of things. Didn't go particularly well in India. Got 100 and a couple of 50s in England as well. So I think you're wanting to be, looking to stamp his authority. And in terms of a leading wicket taker for this series, I'm going to go Mitchell Starc. And there's some doubt whether Mitchell Starc could be playing that first Test. And that's why Lance Morris is in the squad. But if Mitchell Starc's playing all 3 Test matches, I think, he's someone who is going to stamp his authority pretty well, get that ball swinging early on. And he's just such an X factor. And he's performed well against Pakistan in years gone by, and particularly on Australian soil as well. So Mitchell Starc's my leading wicket taker of the series. And Reese, what do you reckon?
Well, I was going to go him, but we can't go to both. So I'm going to change mine to Pat Cummins.
Very good, mate. Very good. Very, very safe predictions from us here. So, yeah, I'm expecting Australia to win this series 3-0. Unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of hope for Pakistan. And, it's just the reality of the situation. Australia are world test champions. They've been performing well in test cricket. They play in their home conditions really well. So there's not really much we can do about that. But I assume you're going for 3-0 as well, mate.
Yeah, it's hard to see anything but 3-0, is it?
No, unfortunately not. So yeah, we certainly hope that Pakistan, are able to get into the series, be really competitive in Perth, and hopefully that sets us up for a good test summer. But Reese, I just want to say thanks for coming on in the Cordon again, mate. It's good to have you in the Slips Cordon again, and hopefully we'll get you in the Cordon another time.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning to In the Cordon at Home. Make sure that you follow all of our social media pages for more updates about the cricket that's going on around the world, and we'll see you on our next episode. Cheers.